Hello and a very warm welcome. You are watching Gravitas with me, Modi Gambhir. Let's get started. Our top focus tonight on Gravitas is on US President Donald Trump's tariff announcement and what it means for the US-India partnership. What's behind the move? Where do things go from here? Why is the US President targeting India while curiously omitting China and cozying up to Pakistan? We tell you more about what Trump has said and focus on the big questions while decoding for you the bigger implications. We're also telling you about how the Indian stocks have broadly ignored Donald Trump's rhetoric and what that tells us. Donald Trump hit out at India, Russia, calling them dead economies. We tell you how this means he is contradicting the IMF's upgrade to India's growth. IMF projecting India's growth to be faster than America. We break it all down for you. All this and more coming up.
Modi's a friend of mine.
We will take all necessary steps to secure and advance our national interests.
They sell a lot to us, but we don't buy from them. Prime Minister Modi's a friend of mine.
We will take all necessary steps to secure and advance our national interests.
US President Donald Trump's targeting India stands even more for the fact that he curiously omits China and cozies up to Pakistan. And tonight on Gravitas, we are asking, why is Trump anti-India? Donald Trump announced a 25% tariff on Indian goods and hinted at penalties over India's continued purchase of Russian oil and military equipment. And this comes just days before a self-imposed trade deal deadline, effectively putting a question mark over months of bilateral negotiations. While Trump claims India is a friend, his policies and actions seem to suggest otherwise. Posting on his Truth Social platform, Donald Trump accused India of imposing excessive tariffs and non-monetary barriers and complained about a trade imbalance. He claimed India sells far more to the US than it buys, all while acknowledging that Prime Minister Narendra Modi remains a friend, and then posting moments later, don't care what India does with Russia, quote unquote.
So, as you know, Prime Minister Modi's a friend of mine, but they don't do very much business in terms of business with us. They sell a lot to us, but we don't buy from them. You know why? Because the tariff is so high. They have one of the highest tariffs in the world. Now they're willing to cut it very substantially, but we'll see what happens. We're talking to India now. We'll see what happens.
Serious questions will now be asked about India's foreign relations policy and the trajectory of the US-India partnership, a relationship that once appeared to be on an upward curve, but now shows signs of strain. And that's why the real work must begin at home. India needs to fortify its economy and make it truly competitive. That means protecting itself from predatory dumping, aggressively pursuing new export markets, and forging stronger South alliances that can actually give India the leverage that it sorely lacks. The US will continue to push its interests. Tariffs will rise and fall, deals will come and go. But the bigger question still is, will India remain a price taker in the global economy, or will it rise to become a price setter? As of now, India's Commerce Ministry is currently reviewing the implications. Remember, India has already made concessions. Tariffs on Harley-Davidson motorcycles, bourbon whiskey and other US goods were slashed to encourage a broader trade deal. And this basically triggers the bigger question. Why is Trump targeting India while staying silent on others? And here's the contradiction in a way. Donald Trump has publicly slammed India for buying Russian oil, while also stating that China is Russia's biggest energy customer. Yet, China faces no new US tariffs, no sanctions, no threats. Is the US afraid of China then? And that's not all. Trump also put out a post on his social media handle about striking a trade deal with Pakistan, including plans to develop its massive oil reserves, quote unquote. Just for context here, India's oil reserves, over 4.8 billion barrels, far exceed Pakistan's, which is less than 10% of India's stock. And America knows this. So an oil deal with Pakistan is perhaps aimed at strong-arming India to abandon Russian oil in favor of American barrels. But as a sovereign nation, India reserves the right to buy from any partner, be it Russia, the US, the Gulf, or elsewhere. And the numbers tell another truth, by the way. While Donald Trump talks about trade deficits, analysts at the Global Trade Research Initiative estimate that the US actually enjoys a $35 to $40 billion net surplus with India when education, tech services, defense imports, royalties, and financial flows are factored in. So who is treating whom unfairly, if at all? Remember, Trump had claimed that he had helped broker a ceasefire between India and Pakistan back in May. Prime Minister Modi clarified and shut down that narrative in the parliament, stating that no foreign power influenced India's Operation Sindoor, making it clear that no world leader asked India to stop the operation, in a way directly contradicting Donald Trump's claims. And all of this begs the question, why does Trump treat India like a bargaining chip while turning a blind eye to China in a way? If Russian oil is the issue, why not punish China? Because this does not seem to be foreign policy. It's just simply double standards. And US President Donald Trump's tariff bomb was expected to be a mega blow for the Indian stock markets. But surprisingly enough, investors have largely shrugged off the 25% tariff threats from US President Donald Trump. The day began with a setback. The markets opened in the red. Equity investors lost 5 lakh crore rupees in 15 minutes early in the day. But as the day progressed, stocks recovered those losses completely. The blue chip Sensex index, Sensex jumped over 1,000 points, in fact, from the day's low, even as it closed in the red. Domestic stocks remained volatile through the session. However, the reaction was less severe than in April when Trump first announced higher tariffs. With a more domestic-oriented economy and deep strategic autonomy, India is not folding easily. The fact is, India's exports are only a marginal contributor to the country's GDP, and analysts expect the hit from US tariffs to be limited to only a few sectors. And still, India will face some pain in the near term, especially on the rupee front. The tariffs come just when foreign capital outflows have already been a drag on the Indian currency, the latest tariffs adding to the existing pressure on the rupee from continued foreign fund outflows and the global risk of sentiment. The rupee fell to a 4-month low, hovering just below its record week level following Trump's tough talk on India. And adding to the pressure, the US has sanctioned 6 Indian companies for buying petrochemicals from Iran. These sanctions block their assets in the US and stop American firms from doing business with them. And while the direct trade impact may be small, it sends out a strong message. This could hurt market sentiment, raise concerns about more trade restrictions, and also put extra pressure on the rupee. Despite the sharp fall, market participants noting that the Reserve Bank of India likely intervened to cap volatility in the currency. And analysts believe, however, that firm intervention may remain limited in the near term given the uncertain external environment. In broader currency markets, Asian peers remained range-bound, while the US dollar index eased slightly. US President Donald Trump once again attacked India-Russia ties in a social media post after announcing the 25% tariff on Indian goods imports effective from Friday. In a post on Truth Social, Trump said he did not care what India does with Russia, quote unquote. He added, "They can take their dead economies down together for all I care," quote unquote. However, his claims are far from the reality. India is the fastest growing major economy in the world and is expected to be the bright light for this year and next. Earlier this year, India displaced Japan to become the world's fourth largest economy.
It is also widely expected that we will become the third largest economy in a few years. Today, international institutions and economists see India as the bright spot in the global economy. India is contributing to almost 16% of global growth.
This week, the International Monetary Fund upgraded its outlook for the Indian economy for this year and next. India is expected to grow at a healthy rate of 6.4% this fiscal year and next. And that is more than double the global average. The fund also raised its projections for emerging markets to 4.1%. The IMF credits this to better than expected activity in early 2025 and a significant reduction in the US-China tariffs. And based on those projections, India is expected to outpace US economic growth comfortably. And that triggers questions regarding Trump's claims of India being a quote-unquote dead economy. And the IMF, by the way, also highlighted persistent risks, especially from Trump's trade policies. The US has pushed its effective tariff rate to 17.3%, far above the global average of 3.5%. Though some hikes have been delayed, US growth for 2025 is now seen at 1.9%, up from 1.8% previously. But inflation is expected to stay above target due to delayed price effects from tariffs. And the Eurozone outlook has improved slightly to 1%, while Russia's forecast was downgraded to 0.9% on weaker oil prices. Significantly, the IMF warns that continued uncertainty, higher tariffs, and geopolitical tensions could undermine future growth momentum. And apart from the 25% tariffs, the US president, remember, has also warned of slapping additional penalties on India. What's the reason, according to him? Russian oil. India's dependence on imported crude is deep-rooted. The country sources about 88% of its oil from foreign suppliers, with New Delhi increasing its imports from Russia in the last 3 years. This month, Russia supplied 36% of all crude oil, which is converted into fuels like petrol and diesel that India imported. Western sanctions and bans on Russian oil created opportunities for New Delhi, which began purchasing heavily discounted Russian crude in 2022. And before the war, India was importing less than 1% of its energy requirement from Russia. What the penalty would be was not clear. Russia continues to be the top oil supplier for India during the first 6 months of 2025, making up 35% of overall supplies. Separately, Trump also announced an extra 10% tariffs on countries aligning with the BRICS group, which he called anti-American policies. Listen to this.
Well, we're negotiating right now, and it's also BRICS, so it's partially BRICS and it's partially the trade. We're talking to India now. We'll see what happens.
And apart from oil, India's trade relations with Russia run deep on defense. Russia accounts for 60% of India's foreign military imports. With the trade surplus tilted in Russia's favor, both the countries have carried out trade worth $68.7 billion in FY25. Moscow and New Delhi aim to step up bilateral investment to $50 billion. In fact, a Russian ambassador to India is saying that Moscow and New Delhi are actively cooperating in the financial sector and are discussing in particular the integration of payment systems and bank cards. With the India-Russia bonhomie triggering a sharp reaction from Washington, New Delhi now stares at difficult negotiations with the US, and as Trump remains firm on his tariff deadline, there is little time left for any turnaround, it seems. And before we go any further, here's a quick look at what else is coming your way on the show tonight. We're getting you the latest on the Russia-Ukraine war, with Russia unleashing deadly strikes on Kiev. What are things looking like on the ground? In fact, the Ukrainian president wants a regime change in Russia. We tell you more about this. That's coming up next. Scientists are warning of a major tsunami in the United States. We get you a special report and tell you all that you need to know. Is our planet in danger? Scientists are warning of an incoming mystery object. What's the story here? We unravel the layers for you. All this and more coming up. Ukraine is once again on edge. A devastating overnight attack by Russia has killed at least 8 civilians in the Ukrainian capital, including a 6-year-old boy and his mother. And now President Zelensky is not just asking for weapons or aid, he is calling for something far more serious. He wants a regime change in Russia. In fact, in the early hours of Thursday, missiles and drones tore through the skies over Kiev. Over 300 drones, 8 cruise missiles were reportedly launched by Russia across Ukraine, most of them aimed at the capital.
When everyone was asleep, a missile struck. The entire building was practically destroyed. Some of the houses and some of the flats were burned down. It was a nightmare. I woke up to the sound of the missile striking and everything started falling on me. It was terrifying. Nothing remained of the flat. The walls were destroyed and there were no partitions left.
I ran out. I found a blanket. It was covered in dust. I shook it out. I ran out wearing only a shirt. Thank God I met someone here. She saw that I was wearing only a shirt. She took me to her place. She gave me trousers and a jacket, and she gave me coffee.
A residential block in the city's western suburbs was reduced to rubble. Children, at least 9 of them, were among the dozens injured. One missile is said to have ripped through the front of a 9-story building, leaving belongings, concrete, bodies scattered in the debris. The overnight attack had caused damage in 27 locations across 4 districts of the Ukrainian capital. Kiev residents took shelter in the metro while explosions rocked the capital all night over ground. Footage also showed Ukrainian rescuers rescuing injured people from the apartment block hit in Russia's attack. As the sun rose, emergency crews were putting out fires, cutting through concrete blocks in search for survivors. In recent months, Russia has stepped up airstrikes on Ukrainian towns and cities that are far from the front line. Ukraine's president says that the world cannot afford to ignore this anymore, speaking virtually at a conference marking 50 years since the Helsinki Accords. Zelensky said, and I'm quoting, "Russia can be pushed to end this war if the world does not aim to change the regime in Russia. Moscow will still try to destabilize its neighbors even after the war," quote unquote. And while the situation was unraveling in Kiev, a different battle was playing out in the east. Russia now claims it has captured the town of Chasiv Yar in Donetsk. Chasiv Yar, just for context, has been a key military hub for Ukrainian forces. And control of the town would basically open up the path to major cities like Kramatorsk and Sloviansk, potentially crippling Ukrainian logistics in the east. But Ukraine is pushing back, calling Russia's claim a lie. They say that intense fighting is still underway, with forested terrain and urban ruins favoring the defenders. And as Russia tightens its grip on Ukraine's east, political pressure on Moscow is mounting in the west. US President Donald Trump has issued a 10-day ultimatum to the Russian president: end the war or face sweeping sanctions next week. Russia is shrugging off warnings from Washington as of now. The Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov says Moscow is used to Western pressure. In fact, he said that Russia has been living under a huge number of sanctions for quite a long time, and that the Kremlin will not be swayed by threats. So what's the message from Moscow really? Pressure will not end the war. But Ukraine is not waiting anymore. Ukraine's foreign minister posted on social media, I'm quoting, "It's time to make Putin feel the pain. Maximum pressure must be applied," quote unquote. India is quietly building a weapon that could change the battlefield forever. And that is making Pakistan deeply nervous. Meet the bunker buster variant of the Agni 5 missile, a hypersonic deep penetration warhead that could obliterate enemy command bunkers buried deep under rock and concrete, developed by DRDO. This version of Agni 5 is not just any other missile. It is engineered to punch through 80 to 100 meters of reinforced concrete or mountain rock, making it one of the world's most lethal non-nuclear weapons. With a payload of up to 8,000 kilograms and speeds between Mach 8 and Mach 20, that's up to 24,000 kilometers per hour, this missile becomes virtually impossible to intercept. By the time you see it, it's already hit. So what does this mean for India's adversaries really? It's already making them nervous. A latest report in Pakistan's Dawn newspaper warns that the Indian missile could be aimed at Pakistan. And here's why Pakistan is nervous. You see, Pakistan relies heavily on underground nuclear and missile infrastructure. Sites like Kirana Hills, Masroor Air Base are buried beneath terrain to evade airstrikes. The Agni 5 basically changes that equation. It gives India the ability to destroy nuclear command centers without using nuclear weapons, which brings us to the big question of why now? Why is India developing this now? And the answer is quite simple, because India has reasons to develop such deterrence. Pakistan's nuclear-first posture and China's growing aggression make having strategic dominance essential for New Delhi. And the tipping point, in a way, was the June 2025 US strike on Iran's Fordo facility, which it carried out using its bunker buster that had sent shockwaves across the world. How exactly does India's new missile then stack up against the world's most feared bunker buster? While Agni 5 is a missile that flies at hypersonic speeds, the GBU is a guided bomb that drops from 50,000 feet at subsonic speeds. India's missile is also cheaper, more mobile, and much harder to defend against. So it's not just brute force. Agni 5 uses cutting-edge targeting systems. Its canister-based launch system basically means that it can be moved and fired from roads or railways quicker and stealthier. Make no mistake here, this missile is a message. It gives India credible deterrence and the ability to destroy underground enemy sites conventionally. And it's also built entirely in India. Only a handful of countries have this kind of technology. With Agni 5, India also joins the elite club and possibly ranks second only to the US in bunker busting capability. This is not the first time that the Agni missile family has played a key role in strategic operations. India's Operation Sindoor strikes against Pakistan sponsors of terror involved the use of various missile systems, including the nuclear-capable Agni series, Prithvi 2 and Akash Prime missiles. The presence of Agni served as a silent shield, projecting strength and deterring escalation, and signaling India's readiness to strike hard. And now with the bunker buster version, that capability is no longer just a warning. It's a precision kill option.
Excess of 400 kilometers, designed to neutralize a wide variety of pinpoint accuracy.
And India's message is loud and clear. Precision firepower is now made in India. India's Defense Research and Development Organization, DRDO's Pralay missile has just passed 2 critical back-to-back flight tests. And it's packing a massive 1,000 kg punch. Tests fired on July 28 and 29 from Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Island off the coast of Odisha. The Made in India Pralay missile has validated both its minimum as well as maximum range capabilities. As mentioned, the missile is built to strike with precision. It can carry a conventional warhead of up to 1,000 kg over a range of 150 to 500 kilometers, making it a powerful tactical weapon on the battlefield. Pralay has been described as a quasi-ballistic missile powered by solid propellant and equipped with cutting-edge guidance, as well as navigation systems. And according to the DRDO, all subsystems functioned flawlessly. Tracking sensors confirmed the perfect hit, and the missile stayed true to its intended path. The tests were part of user evaluation trials, basically signaling that Pralay is now battle-ready and nearly ready for induction into the armed forces. Developed by DRDO's Research Center, the missile is the result of collaboration across India's top defense labs. industry giants like Bharat Dynamics and multiple MSMEs were also integral for the project. And the Defence Minister Rajnath Singh congratulated the DRDO team as well as the armed forces, saying that Pralay will significantly boost India's tactical strike capability. The DRDO chairman said that this marks the completion of Phase 1 trials, clearing the path for its formal induction. And here's why India needs Pralay. With Pralay in its arsenal, India joins the elite club alongside China, Russia, South Korea with similar quasi-ballistic capabilities. It also bridges the gap between artillery and strategic missiles. Pralay basically fills the operational hole between short-range artillery and longer-range nuclear-capable missiles. It provides a conventional battlefield-ready strike option. Plus, with China expanding infrastructure along the LAC and Pakistan continuing proxy aggression, India needs a flexible, fast-acting strike option. In short, Pralay is a powerful symbol of what India's defense future looks like. Homegrown, high precision, and ready to strike when needed to deliver a 1,000-kilogram punch to enemy threats. And Pralay is just the beginning. Is our planet being watched by something not of this world? A Harvard scientist reignites the debate by suggesting that an approaching interstellar object may not be a harmless comet, but an alien reconnaissance probe. This mystery project or mystery object is moving unusually and may hold secrets that no telescope has seen ever before. Take a look.
A shadow of profound cosmic intrigue now falls across our planet as a mysterious object hurtles through our solar system. Named 3I Atlas, this interstellar visitor has ignited a fiercely contested debate among scientists. Is it merely a natural comet, or as some astronomers claims that it could be something far more unsettling, a possibly hostile alien spacecraft approaching Earth?
The unusual trajectory of this object offers the possibility that it might have been designed so as to have some goals of a reconnaissance mission.
Discovered on July 1st, this celestial interloper, roughly 24 kilometers wide, moves with an unsettling speed of over 210,000 kilometers per hour and follows a trajectory deemed highly unusual for a typical comet. Harvard astrophysicist A.V. Loeb, known for his bold theories on extraterrestrial intelligence, suggests 3I Atlas's peculiar characteristics, possibly indicating a reconnaissance mission.
We are a relatively young technological civilization, and one can imagine a more advanced civilization having an agenda, some goals that are long-term in interstellar space, and therefore we might find probes that are still functional and are entering the solar system with a purpose. And the question is, what is that purpose?
While the alien probe narrative is capturing imaginations and headlines, cooler scientific voices urge caution. The odds overwhelmingly favor a natural origin, a cosmic traveler of ice, dust, and rock, wandering the galaxy for millions of years before being gravitationally captured by our sun.
Once it's close enough to the sun and Earth, and big enough to reflect enough light that we can see it, it just becomes another speck of light that's moving among the stars. And then, they're discovering a lot of these every night. It was becoming interesting once you trace the orbit to something that's from outside the solar system.
The comet is expected to pass within 130 million miles of Earth on October 30th, 2025. This exploration of the unknown inspires us to push the boundaries of science and our collective understanding, fostering a spirit of inquiry even as it highlights our vulnerabilities.
Let's now move on to Bangladesh, where Khaleda Zia, chairperson of the Bangladesh Nationalist Party and former Prime Minister, is set to contest the upcoming general election, and this has been confirmed by her party's senior leadership. The party also said that the elections are expected to take place early next year. Speaking to reporters after a views exchange meeting organized by the Feni District Administration, the BNP vice chairman said that the party chief is in good health and will contest the election from Feni. Mintu, after his talks with Tariq Rahman, the acting BNP chairman and son of Khaleda Zia, indicated that BNP anticipates the national elections will likely occur in early February. Khaleda Zia returned to Dhaka from London in the month of May after receiving 4 months of medical treatment. Khaleda Zia, remember, has long suffered from kidney disease, heart problems, diabetes, arthritis. In fact, the former Prime Minister has now been acquitted in both the Zia Orphanage Trust and Zia Charitable Trust cases, in which she had previously been convicted and sentenced. She served as the country's Prime Minister from March 1991 to March 1996 and again from June 2001 to October 2006. Meanwhile, at least 35 people, including several journalists, were injured after violent clashes erupted between the supporters of the government advisor and the BNP activists during rival rallies. In fact, both sides blame each other for starting the violence, with Asif Mahmood's followers accusing BNP supporters of a pre-planned attack, while the BNP leader alleges that their activists were attacked by Asif's group, aided by Awami League members. The police intervened to restore order, and the injured are being treated at the local hospitals. US President Donald Trump's approval rating has dropped to just 40%, the lowest level of his second term in office, at a time when Donald Trump is facing growing pressure domestically and internationally. The Epstein files, the state of the American economy, immigration have remained burning issues since he returned to the White House. In fact, internationally, Trump's trade tariffs, the promise to end the Russia-Ukraine war, continuing to simmer, according to the poll conducted by Reuters news agency and Ipsos. Trump's overall approval ratings since his presidency have dropped 7% in just the first 7 months of this year. The poll, which surveyed over 1,000 Americans, shedding light on a country clearly divided on political leanings. In fact, while 83% of the Republicans rate Trump positively, a mere 3% of the Democrats say that they approve of his performance. And among the independents, Trump enjoys a 33% approval rating. Prior to returning to power, Trump, remember, had promised that he would bring about a surge in America's economy while effectively implementing a major crackdown on immigration. On both of these aspects, the polls showing declining support for Donald Trump. According to the poll, interestingly, only 38% of Americans approve of his handling of the economy. Back in January, the figure stood at 43%. And when it comes to immigration, Trump's approval currently standing at 43%, down by 3 points from 46% in January. With more than 3 years still left in his second term, can he change this rapidly rising slump is the question. Can he regain the trust and confidence of the American people? Afghanistan's Taliban regime has started sending Afghan workers to Qatar in a move aimed at easing unemployment in Afghanistan. In fact, talks are also underway with other countries like Saudi Arabia, Oman, Turkey and Russia to send more Afghan workers overseas. The first batch includes at least 2,000 skilled workers. These include people trained in hospitality, food services and engineering. They will be working in Qatar under a new job program. According to the Taliban's labor ministry, Afghanistan has signed a deal with a Qatari government-owned company
For now, an understanding has been reached with the private sector and an agreement has been signed with a Qatari state-owned company. In the first phase, 2,000 job opportunities were mentioned, but fortunately, 1,100 more job opportunities were added yesterday. This means that 3,100 people will be given a job.
This new job drive comes at a particularly difficult time for Afghanistan. Over 1.5 million Afghans have been forced to return home from countries like Iran and Pakistan, and many of them came back without jobs or money. The economy in Afghanistan remains weak. Aid agencies saying basic services are under stress. There's also a drop in money sent home by Afghans working abroad, which is used to help many families. Outside many registration centers, long lines of hopeful workers are forming up.
I am a civil engineer. I went to Pakistan for work as well, but I couldn't find a reasonable job and came back to Afghanistan. It seems that everyone is poor and jobless. We found out that the government is sending people to Qatar for work, so we want to go there for work, and we are requesting the government send us there for work so we can earn money to feed our children.
Only Russia officially recognizes the Taliban as Afghanistan's government. However, countries like Qatar, Turkey, others still keep diplomatic contacts with Kabul. Qatar plays an important role, in fact, in Afghanistan's recent history. It hosted peace talks, remember, between the Taliban and the US before foreign troops withdrew in 2021. And Qatar also helped evacuate people during the US exit from Kabul. Back in 2023, the Taliban chief met with Qatar's Prime Minister in Kandahar. It was the first time Akhundzada was seen meeting a foreign official in public. But life in Afghanistan remains very hard. Many people rely on international aid just to survive. With foreign donations going down, health and education services shrinking fast. The 8.8 magnitude earthquake that struck Russia's Far East shook nerves, but spared the Pacific from actual disaster. Yet, scientists are saying the next one, closer to home, might not. The US West Coast, they warn, is silently waiting for a killer wave that could tower 100 feet high. Take a look.
The alarm bells have never rung louder. A massive 8.8 magnitude earthquake rocked Russia's Far East, unleashing tsunami waves and launching urgent warnings across the Pacific. The shallow earthquake damaged buildings and injured several people in the remote Russian region. Over 2 million people in Japan's eastern seaboard were ordered to evacuate. Hawaii readied for surges, but fears of a catastrophe were not realized, and people took a sigh of relief.
I heard the tsunami warning at work, as my workplace is by the beach. My co-workers told me to go back home because I have a small child, and she was waiting at home, so I came to pick her up.
The tremors were strong, especially the first one, which was stronger than the second and third. It's something we have never experienced here. There were many comments from all the people about whether they had felt an earthquake like the one felt yesterday.
The massive quake and tsunami warning once again brought focus on the danger lurking just off the coast of California. Scientists have pinpointed the Cascadia subduction zone, a colossal 600-mile-long fault running from California to Washington, as the epicenter of this existential risk. Here, centuries of pent-up geological tension threaten to snap with unimaginable fury. According to leading seismologists, there is now a 15% chance of a mega earthquake along the Cascadia subduction zone within the next 50 years. This isn't a mere shake and rattle event. It could unleash a 100-foot high tsunami that would destroy swathes of the US West Coast within minutes. The massive quake in Russia's Far East did not cause much damage, but it rattled the scientific community for good reason. It reminded the world that these plates are active, unstable, and overdue for catastrophe.
The North American plate is like the sponge, and the subducting Pacific plate is like this book. And the average convergence rate between these two plates is like 7 to 8 centimeters per year, so on average. But during the regular times, in most of the time, they are stick together due to friction. So you are changing the shape of the sponge. So the sponge is squeezed, it's being squeezed.
Unlike hurricanes, tsunamis strike with almost no time to flee. A wave spawned in the Pacific could reach the Oregon coastline in under 15 minutes. No chance to evacuate, no time to hesitate, only devastation.
Our next story is about a study which basically throws up a crucial link between a type of HPV and skin cancer. HPV, as you may be aware, is a common viral infection that can cause certain types of cancer. And now a study finds that a type of HPV may cause skin cancer in those with weakened immune systems. Just to break this down for you, it's a type of HPV that's regularly found on the skin. Just for context here, it's long been thought to play a key role in the development of skin cancer. However, crucially, it wasn't believed to be a direct cause. Also, in case you're not aware, skin cancer is caused by DNA damage in the skin cells. And a significant source of this is ultraviolet radiation from the sun. So what's HPV then got to do with this? Basically, it can help UV damaged DNA build up in the cells and turn cancerous. And now, as per the research, doctors found that the virus itself could cause cancerous lesions to form. Basically, the type of HPV was earlier thought to only contribute to skin cancer, and now, as per the research, it can directly cause it. According to a senior author of the study, the virus replicated in a somewhat uncontrolled manner and ended up integrating into the skin cells, and once they did that, they became cancerous. The case report was published in the New England Journal of Medicine, and this is a crucial milestone in our understanding of HPV, skin cancer, and in the overall journey to safeguard and protect ourselves and stay healthy and prioritize our well-being. Japan's glitzy host club culture, where young men charm women into spending fortunes for sweet nothings, is under fire. Once masked as a harmless escape, the illusion of intimacy is now unraveling into a national scandal in a way. Authorities have launched a crackdown on these clubs of pseudo-romance, where smooth-talking hosts lure women into ordering exorbitantly priced drinks. For the customers, these clubs are an escape, a place to let loose.
The interior is so luxurious, and it's an experience you don't usually get. There's this uplifting atmosphere. Everyone hypes each other up. It's that kind of vibe.
But what starts out as flirtation also often spirals into financial ruin. Women, many from vulnerable backgrounds, have reportedly been manipulated into racking up debts so deep and so steep, some are coerced into sex work just to pay them off.
One major issue is that many of the girls who go to host clubs are very young and often don't have much financial means. Yet they're pressured into running tabs far beyond what they can afford, like being asked to buy a 500,000 or 1 million yen bottle, even if the host doesn't explicitly demand it. Even subtle remarks can create that pressure.
The crackdown follows the introduction of a new law in June banning any form of emotional manipulation that drives women to overspend. It strikes at the core of the host club business model, where romance is scripted, intimacy is transactional, and love is just a lie wrapped in velvet and vodka. The owners of the club are not happy.
Honestly, I think the industry is heading toward decline. Girls might not change much. Some might even find it easier to come now that the pressure's off, so that customer base could expand. But if there are fewer boys, naturally fewer girls will come.
Japanese authorities are now actively enforcing these regulations, seeking to ensure fair practices and prevent financial exploitation. This regulatory shift marks a pivotal moment for Japan's nightlife, aiming to redefine the boundaries of acceptable conduct within an industry that has long operated on the nuances of emotional engagement and significant financial transactions, striving for a more equitable environment for all. As summers embrace tightens, minds drift to a universal delight that's ice cream, from classic vanilla to exotic sorbets. This frozen treat offers countless variations around the world. But what if a scoop promised an adventure unlike any other? A taste born of the wild and the mysterious. So what's this wild mushroom ice cream all about? It's not some artificial essence, but creamy scoops infused with the earthy aroma of prized fungi. Prized fungi in local cuisine in China, in fact. Yunnan's ice cream artisans are mixing tradition with innovation, creating scoops that also surprise and seduce in a way. Locals say it tastes cool and nutty. Foreigners call it strange but addictive.
The ice cream feels more approachable than actual lurid bullet, and it offers a safer way to experience the flavor.
I stumbled upon it while walking around and noticed this unique local ice cream. I took a small taste. It's definitely not an everyday flavor, slightly bitter, but knowing it's made with lurid bullet makes it intriguing.
For 5 decades, Rajnikant has captivated audiences, transcending the boundaries of language and geography, to become one of Indian cinema's most iconic and beloved figures. From his humble beginnings as a bus conductor to achieving unparalleled superstardom, his journey is a testament to charisma, unique style, and an unwavering connection with the masses. Rajnikant made his